cavalry charges, treachery, bravery. American infantry in pursuit of the enemy. Ambushes, cavalry charges, treachery, bravery. You're watching combat footage from the Spanish-American War, the first war movies ever. Except these were filmed in New Jersey. New Jersey? Oh, yes. Throughout this century, moving images of war have shaped America's destiny. From the oily clouds rising over Pearl Harbor to the smartest smart bomb of the Gulf War, we see America making war through the eye of a camera. Some of these first movies were real, and some were phony. But these grainy pictures launched a century of American power on the battlefield and the screen. By the late 1890s, movies were only a few years old. And don't blink, the first movies usually lasted less than a minute. But audiences were still astounded by scenes like rolling surf or a close-up smooch. Leading the pack of movie magicians, the Wizard of Menlo Park himself, Thomas Edison. But after only a few years, the novelty was wearing off. Then, on February 15th, 1898, the American battleship USS Maine exploded and sank in Havana Harbor. More than 200 American lives were lost. The nation was outraged at the mysterious sinking of the Maine. American newspapers whipped patriotic feeling into a frenzy of hatred for the Spanish, who controlled Cuba. Many Americans were convinced the Spanish had destroyed our ship with a mine because the U.S. sided with the independence-hungry Cubans. To Edison and the other movie entrepreneurs, this smoldering international crisis was the story of the century. They dispatched their cameramen to the front line to capture the struggle firsthand. And moviegoers were so eager for news of the poor, gallant Maine that some exhibitors scrounged up movies of a look-alike boat and pretended it was a film taken of the Maine before it exploded. The fakery had begun.
Staging scenes, I think, was quite common in early motion pictures. You have to understand that cinema was often seen in this period as a visual newspaper. And if you look at the newspapers of the period, you'll see that there was this mixture of photographs, of line drawings that were often very romantic. And so no one, I think, automatically took these representations on face value.
There was still plenty of real stuff to shoot. The famous burial of the Maine victims showed a real funeral procession in Florida. But filmmakers faked scenes because audiences, bored by movies only a few months earlier, suddenly couldn't get enough of them. And the reaction to the images on the screen was unruly, to say the least.
In Rochester, New York, one of the things that happened was when they showed a film of the Spanish ship Vizcaya, people started pelting the screen with tomatoes and rotten vegetables and rotten eggs. And it was so extreme, so bad that they had to take that film out of the program for the rest of the week.
Angry Americans held their breath for President McKinley to declare war. In April 1898, he did. Now, there was lots to see. But still, the fakery continued. In this film, evil Spanish officers executed pro-democracy soldiers in the Philippines. Moviegoers didn't seem to question how it could have been made by an American cameraman. The fact is, it couldn't have. It was faked. Great naval battles appeared on screen up close and personal, creating a you-are-there feeling. In reality, these battles were created by enterprising men in water tanks using models, the very first special effects guys. All things considered, the war was over awfully quick, around 3 months. By July, the American Navy had all but destroyed the real Spanish fleet. There is no way to measure the power of the moving war image in the years since the explosion of the Maine. From the Somme to Iwo Jima, from Vietnam to Pristina, making war and making movies have become inextricably linked. Over the years, records of which war films were real and which were staged became jumbled. Documentaries, with the most honest of intentions, include some of the faked scenes and retrospectives of the war. That's true of First World War films as well. in which battle scenes are often recreations for the camera's benefit. But one fact at least has been nailed down. A 1976 investigation into the sinking of the Maine established that the most likely cause of the explosion was an accidental fire that spread to the ammunition stores. Turns out, it wasn't a Spanish mine after all. The first moving images of the Spanish-American War were printed as photographs and later reanimated frame by frame into films. They now reside in the archives of the Library of Congress.